the Isupk, you know, coming out of One West Harlem, New York. Tonight is the Wednesday night scripture breakdown class. Tonight I'm going to go into why the Jews are black and how that knowledge has been suppressed. I'm going to start off with Daniel 7 and verse 9. Daniel 7 and verse 9.
I'll get it for you.
You know, this is one of the reasons why in America that we are being oppressed, and the proof is in the pudding. It's that a lot of information has been suppressed, and a lot of things have not been brought out. Now we have a lot of information, and we've gotten access to this information. Isupk has been known since 1969 that the real Jews that are written in the Bible are black. Some of you out there may not know this, may think that the white man is a Jewish man because he calls himself and claims himself to be a Jew, and that he wears those funny looking hats and those Shylocks, those things that on the side of his head, which actually his hair cannot lock. The black man's hair can lock. We prove it by using cornrows in the head, braiding the hair.
Right.
Any dreadlocks, those things are not of the Hebrew Israelites. Dreadlocks are East Indian. That's an East Indian custom and culture to get your hair and get it matted. It's actually filthy. The actual Hebrew Israelites that are black in the Bible live by laws, and the law states that we have to be clean, and dreadlocks are not clean. Braids are clean. So we're going to go with Daniel 7 and verse 9. Go ahead, read.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 9. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white.
Okay, so this is Daniel in his vision. And Daniel in his vision states that he beheld the thrones being cast down. Daniel had many dreams and visions that were actually they were actually in accord to what the Most High wanted to be presented to King Nebuchadnezzar in the Babylonian captivity when the children of Israel were captive in Babylon. Basically, he saw the thrones being cast down, and he saw the Ancient of Days. Now, the Ancient of Days, that might sound like some old man or whatever, but within the Bible, the Ancient of Days was actually the Most High, Yahweh in the Hebrew. Daniel saw the Most High. Read.
Whose garment was white as snow.
Whose garment was white as snow. So the Most High had a garment on. Now, when you see Isupk out there, in camp, you see that we wear garments. We wear garments on high holy days. We wear garments in camp. We wear garments in class. So the Most High had a garment on. Continue.
And the hair of his head, like the pure wool.
His hair was what?
Like the pure wool.
The head on the Most High's hair was like, the hair on the Most High's head was like pure wool. Woolly hair. Who has woolly hair on the planet? Well, most of you so-called Negroes and African Americans, so-called African Americans, have the woolly hair. Well, this here shows that the Most High has woolly hair, the same as the blacks and some Hispanics as well, and Native Indians have on the planet. Read.
It's like you. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire.
So his throne was like a fiery flame, and the wheels was a burning fire. He was on a chariot, in a chariot. The angels ride around in chariots. That's how the Most High get around, in chariots. And those chariots will come at these end times, when it's time for Yahweh Shai, our King, Jesus Christ, to come back and rule.
Right.
Okay. Now, drop that and let's go to Revelation 1 and verse 13. Revelation 1 and verse 13. It's high time that people get truth and get to understand that the real Jews were men of color, black men, black women, black children. You understand? this is the truth that has to be told throughout the earth, so that that the Most High's children, all the children of Israel, can wake up. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians of the world, the chosen people, our chosen people, God's chosen people, can wake up. You got it?
Come.
Okay, we can go ahead and read.
Revelations chapter 1 and verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man.
One like who?
Like unto the Son of Man.
Who is the Son of Man? The Son of Man is Christ, Yahweh Shai. So in the midst of the 7 churches, those are those candlesticks, the candlesticks of the 7 churches, the 7 congregations, the 7 classes, schools. Read.
Clothed with a garment down to the foot.
Oh, he clothed with what?
With a garment down to the foot.
Now here's Christ. Yahweh Shai has a garment down to the foot. And if you saw us in our tapes and YouTube on Passover, you saw that we had on garments. I had mine on, and my brothers had theirs on, and our sisters had theirs on. We wear the garments down to the foot, Read.
And girt about the paps.
Girt about the paps. The paps are actually the waist. The waist are the paps. So Christ had a golden girdle around his waist, along with on that garment, holding that garment together. That's a war belt. That's actually a war belt. You wear these things. Warriors, ancient warriors, wore the girt around their paps, around their waist, so that if you try to strike it with a knife, you can't get through. That's a war belt. Some of you that were in the military know that they're called war belts also. Read.
Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool.
His head and his hairs were white like what?
Like wool.
So we just read Daniel 7 and verse 9 that said that the Most High's hair is white like wool. So his son Yahweh Shai, Christ, had hair that was woolly, So we teach that the Negroes with that woolly hair, you are the direct descendants of the tribe of Judah, which is actually the tribe of Christ, David and Solomon. Any more on that?
Oh, a little bit more.
Read.
I can continue reading. As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Christ's eyes were a flame of fire because Christ drank much wine. He drank a lot of wine in the time that he walked the earth. So just like any other Negro you see out there, whether we get mad or drink some wine, our eyes are surely going to turn red.
Right.
Sure. Read.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
His feet were like unto fine brass. Kind of like this headpiece I got on. Brass is a derivative of brown. So Christ was a brown man. Read.
As if they burned in a furnace.
As if what?
As if they burned in a furnace.
As if they burned in a furnace. So not only was he brown, he was dark brown. Christ was a dark Negro. That's who Christ was. When your pastors out there tell you that there's no color in the Bible, you need to look at him like he got 3 tails and 3 heads. Because Pastor Cornbread is lying his tie, money grubbing, pimp suit wearing, Learjet flying, tie, child molesting self off. He's just lying to you straight up. He's not telling you the truth. In these Christian churches, that's what they do. They molest your kids. They allow homosexuals in the choir. They allow pedophiles. And they do not teach the laws of the Bible. They do not teach this Bible correctly, nor understand it the way here the priests and prophets of the Isupk understand this Bible. You understand? So it's best that you get out of these churches and stop paying your tithes there and bring them here so that you can help your nation. Your nation needs that money. Tithes are a law. And we in the Isupk keep all the laws of the Bible. Any more on that?
Yes, like I was gonna bring out
Go ahead.
That's it on that. But there was this Christian pastor that he asked for donations to buy his 4th jet or something like that, nah?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Fourthly with that Creflo dollar. TD Jakes. one of those pastors, I know, Creflo got one. I believe Creflo got one. And you know, they got a heliopad on top of that church out there in Crenshaw. That church out there in Los Angeles in Crenshaw is a heliopad on top of that church. It was the West Angeles church or something like that. And you know what? With that big old stained glass and it's a round church, man, look here. Christ did not teach all the way up in some synagogue or church. He came out to the highways and byways and taught his people. And we'll bring that scripture out.
Right. So like they call him televangelist.
Televangelist?
Televangelist.
A televangelist.
Because they they're pastors, but through the television.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they mix those words up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he's
televangelist.
Televangelist, yeah. So he was asking for 54 million in donations to help him. You know what I'm saying? For him to get a fourth jet, basically. You know what I'm saying? Saying that if Christ was around today, he wouldn't be walking around. That he'd be flying around in that jet,
taking the bus or something like that. See, and there's where they go afoul and that's where they go astray, because Christ probably would take the bus or walk.
Right.
That's what we do.
So like in Christ was back, man, he'd be putting y'all to death, man. That's what would be going on.
Oh, absolutely. Ultimately, he'd be putting them to death.
So like Jesse Duplantis, that's his name.
Is his name Jesse Duplantis? You're a wicked man. You're a straight wicked man. You don't feed our people. Jeremiah 21 says, "Woe unto those pastors." So let's get the other part of Daniel 10 and 5. We'll go to Daniel 10 and 5. Now, in the meantime, before you get that, I'm gonna let you guys know there's a research out there that I've been doing some research on this, and it's called "How Did Jesus and the Hebrews Become White?" We're gonna go into this part as well. Well, right here is a coin from ancient Rome. This is a coin. Right here is a depiction of Christ on this coin. Wait, let me see. Right here. This is Christ's image on this ancient coin out of Rome. This comes out, if you can Google the coin, the Romans of the catacombs of Rome, in the catacombs. You can clearly see that Christ has cornrows in his head. These are braids in that man's head. You understand? Now I'm going to read the caption underneath this image right here, that this image of a coin, of an ancient coin that they took a picture of. You want to read this part?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Okay, you can read this part out.
If you could find it on Google.
Okay.
Right here, so then I can post the link in the description if they want to see it.
Okay, we'll go through that. Go ahead and read that.
Reign of Byzantine Emperor. It's like reign of Byzantine Emperor Justinian II, years 685 through 711 A.D. Gold solidus bust of Christ facing with curly hair, cornrows perhaps, short beard.
Now hold on, that right there. Justinian had this coin in Rome, and they actually saw that they said that this possibly could be, they didn't even say possibly, they said cornrows perhaps. Okay, cornrows perhaps. It shows his hair. His hair was lined in rows across his head, unlike mine is bald. But, he had cornrows, okay? So Justinian had that. Go ahead and read.
Short beard, wearing pallium and colubium gospels in the left. It's like in left, cross behind head, reversed Justinian on left, and type Tiberius half length facing. Each wears crown, Divitian and Clemis, holding cross potent on 3 steps in center.
Okay, so that's the back of the coin. The back of the coin had those 2 kings, Tiberius and Justinian, right?
Oh yeah, he's like,
okay. So the front, it was talking about with the cross in the back of Christ's head. It showed that was the Messiah, that was the Mashiach, and it showed that he had a short beard. He had a low-cut beard and cornrows. Okay, read on.
The coin comes with this explanation.
Here's the explanation of the coin that they had. They took a picture of the gold solidad. Read.
The portrait on this coin was based on an icon believed by the people of the time to bear miraculous resemblance to Christ's actual appearance.
See, so this coin, according to the people, bear the exact resemblance, miraculous resemblance of Christ. That's an ancient coin. Okay, so is it on that?
Oh yeah, that was it on.
Okay, might want to look this up a little bit more. So what we're going to do is go further into these images. I found these images kind of very interesting because, you know, they took the images and changed them. We're going to see this down the line. We're going to continue to establish that Christ was that these ancient characters as well as Christ were black men. Now this image here, if you guys can see. If you can see online, let's see, let me get it about right there. Now, you may have guessed it. I don't know if you guessed it, but this is the image that's on the catacombs of Rome of Samson when he fought the lion. Look how black he is. Look how dark he is. And look at his afro. You could see that this was clearly a black man having a confrontation and wrestling lions, which he slew a lion actually. Back in the scriptures, he slew a lion, and he caused honey to come out that lion after the carcass. Honey, the bees came and they made a whole nest out of the lion's carcass, and honey came out of it, which Samson took out and made a puzzle and riddle to his enemies to try to guess what he did. So that's another picture showing a black man, you know.
Lucky, I'm about to put the link in the description if they want to.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna go into also black in the Bible. We're gonna go to Jeremiah 14:2. We're gonna go to Jeremiah 14 and verse 2. Let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, and while you're looking at that, there's more along the lines here. We're gonna go well into the Apocrypha, and we're gonna go into how these images were actually changed. The Apocrypha is actually the authorized King James version of the Bible, which was taken out. It's a Greek word called the hidden. Apocrypha, that's what that means. And so we're going to see what really happened here, you know. Throughout time, Hebrew Israelites have always been in captivity. In other words, your ancestors, black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, have always been in slavery, captivity. You have always been suppressed. And the reason behind it, as we know, is that you left the law, statutes, and commandments of God. You stopped observing the holy days of the Most High. You know, you didn't want to do Passover. You wanted to eat pig and swine. You wanted to go after the gods that weren't your God. You didn't want the black God of Israel. You didn't want Yahweh. So therefore, you went into captivity since Egypt, unto the Assyrians, unto the Persians, unto the Greeks, unto the Romans, unto the Babylonians and the Assyrians, always in captivity for disobedience. And that's still today here in America. 400 plus years of slavery. You got that?
Yeah, come. Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish.
This says Judah mourneth. Judah mourneth. Judah is in mourning. Judah is in deep sorrow. When you mourn, you're mourning because somebody died, or you're mourning because your life is just so terrible and horrible that you just disgusted and mourning over it. Like, woe was me, and woe with this world. What has happened to me? Well, according to this Bible, Judah, the entire tribe of Judah, is in mourning, which this entire tribe of the so-called Negroes here in America is in mourning. So this scripture is true, because that's what you're going through in these ghettos. That's what you're going through when you can't pay your rent. That's
Right.
what you're going through when they say, no, we're not hiring, or your credentials are not right. That's what you're going through when you get abortions. That's what you're going through when somebody on the street got shot by somebody, or
Right.
somebody got AIDS because they became a filthy homosexual. Judah is in mourning because they do not keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And it is written. Go ahead and read.
They are black unto the ground.
They're what?
They are black unto the ground.
Let's get it clear. They're what?
They are black unto the ground.
Judah mourneth, and they are black unto the ground. Understand, there is color in the Bible. It's shame on the Christian churches. They come out here and say there's no color in the Bible. And then so-called Christians run around here speaking those things and saying they don't see color in the Bible. That's like a giant ship sails by your window and you didn't see it. That it's just ridiculous. It's terrible, man. How can you be grown as an adult and read the word black and say it's not in there? Read the word brass and say it's not in there. Read the word red and it's not in there. Wow.
Or hate.
Or even we speak colors though.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, hate is true. Hey, you read the word hate, and that's very valid, priest. Very valid word hate. And you say there's no hate in the Bible, just love. Well, that's what the Christian church teaches you, and therefore they lead you astray. Is that it on that?
Oh, yeah, come.
Let me get Job 9:24. See, this is the state of conditions today. Judah is in mourning, and the other part of that is the gates thereof languish.
Right.
Remember that part. The gates that they're speaking of are our leadership. Our leadership. Creflo Dollar, T.D. Jakes, Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, all those pastors and so-called leaders, have led us astray. They languish, and languish means they have diminished. They are disappearing. They are not even, a gate is supposed to protect you. A gate is a perimeter, where no one can come in those gates. That's your safety, that's your security, that's your sanctuary. But the gates of Judah languish. Our leaders have sold themselves as whores unto America for money and for other things.
It's like, I don't know if you were bringing this one out later on Zechariah.
Yeah, we'll get to Zechariah. Just keep hold that script.
I got Job 9:24.
Okay, let's get Job 9:24.
Job chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
The what?
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
The earth. And that's, when the Bible speaks of the earth, the Bible speaks of the earth entirety of this planet. Everything, everybody in it. The earth is given into who?
The hand of the wicked.
Well, I ask you, who's in charge of the earth right now? Who is in charge of the earth? Who's taking care of all the matters, the financial matters, the warfare, the Star Wars, the everything? Well, it's the white man. The white man, And we in ISUPK already know that the white man is the devil, as the Bible speaks of.
Right.
The white man is a devil. And by devil, we mean a deceiver, a liar. He broke every peace treaty with the native Indians. Every single treaty he brought out, he broke. Okay? So it's important that you know this. So what we have on there, what's the rest of it?
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
He covereth the faces of the judges. Now I just bring out a few images on the black images in the Roman catacombs. The catacombs of Rome have these portraits of these ancient portraits of biblical characters: Samson, and Abraham and let's see, who is this one right here? This, okay, actually this one is Abraham. So we'll take a look at Abraham right here. Let's look how dark Abraham is. And look at Abraham's son. This is Isaac. This is Isaac, the son of Abraham, when he went to go and sacrifice his only son for the Most High, because the Most High told him to sacrifice Isaac. Okay? As you can see closely, this is a black man. Okay? Now, let's read the rest of it. He covers the faces of the judges. Now, hold on for a minute, Salah. Now, when we say he covers the faces of the judges, as time went on in this, what I found interesting is that as time went on, you didn't see these images I just showed you. The images started changing. Why did the images start changing from that to this? Why did it change to this imposter right here? And by the way, this imposter right here, imposter, this is not Christ. This is Caesar Borgia. If you look it up in any Google, you'll see that this is actually Caesar Borgia. This is not Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. This is not the so-called Jesus Christ. This is actually Caesar Borgia, who was actually a homosexual lover of Michelangelo. And Michelangelo, as you well know, is an artist. And he did what? Read that last part. He covereth what?
He covered the faces of the judges thereof.
He covereth. So this wicked man covered the faces of the judges. These faces became covered with white paint. Okay. What else? So read that last part.
If not, where and who is he?
If not, then where and who is he? If this is not the white man, then who rules the earth? Who rules the entire earth beside the Most High? Beside the Most High, because he's only allowing the Esau, the white man, to be in charge at this particular time, you know, because of the disobedience of his chosen people, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Okay, so that image turned to that. Now, you have an Apocrypha? Let's go to the Apocrypha to 1 Maccabees 3 and 48. 1 Maccabees 3 and 48. And like I said before, this is the books that was taken out of the Bible. The books that were taken out, the book of Judah, the book of Maccabees, the book of Ezra, the book of Ezra, Salaki, and the three holy children, the book of Tobit. That may sound unusual and foreign to you because your pastor never told you that they existed. But the Apocrypha is actually the authorized King James Version. When you get the Apocrypha, it will say authorized King James Version. King James authorized the Bible that he had the Hebrew Israelites write, and he also authorized the Apocrypha that the Hebrew Israelites wrote. Okay, you got that up?
First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law.
Laid open the book of the law. Now, this happened during the time of the Hasmonean dynasty, right? And so this is what happened when the heathens got a hold of the Most High's books. The heathen got a hold of the Most High's books. They went in and desecrated the temple. They went in and pulled down the altars of the Most High, and they also put pig and swine flesh on the altar and put up their gods and their altar. Therefore, they desecrated the Most High's temple. Read.
Wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
The who?
The heathen.
Okay, the who?
The heathen.
The white man. The heathen. If you're not a Hebrew Israelite, and if you're another nation, you are not. You are actually a heathen. You're described in the Bible as a heathen because you're not God's chosen people. If you're Chinese, Japanese, East Indian, African, white, you're not of the 12 tribes of Israel. Most of the time they say that God loves everybody and all that. We did teach on that one a couple of weeks ago. about, the real meaning behind that. Because, it's important to know that you are chosen if you're the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. This is a good news to you. And
Right.
the heathen sought to do what? Let's see, what did the heathen do? Read.
The heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
So the heathen sought to paint. Now, I just brought out that Caesar Borgia had the homosexual lover named Michelangelo who painted his image, the image of Caesar Borgia, and they depicted that as being Christ. That's why your grandmother, your grandfather, and all those Christians out there have a white Jesus on their wall and praying to that idol. That's idol worship. You're worshiping an idol, and you're worshiping a pedophile homosexual killer, because Caesar Borgia killed his brother when he went in Rome just to get the
Leadership.
The leadership,
Get leadership.
exactly, to get the leadership of Rome at the time in his day and era. But you don't notice. You think that's Jesus Christ, But when you come into Isupk, get into these classes, I hope you continue, that you'll learn a whole lot more. Do the research. Make sure that you do the research. Don't take my word for it. My word could be anything. I could tell you, say you the Brooklyn Bridge or something. Do the research, and you'll find who these images are. What else is on there? They painted the cover. They painted the faces of who?
So like where the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
The likeness of their images. Notice it said the likeness of their images. So they took these characters, these black characters, and painted them to be the likeness of themselves, in other words. So they turned the black Messiah, the true image, into the white Messiah. They turned Abraham into the white Abraham. I mean, you've seen it before. You watched the Ten Commandments that came out in the 1960s or something with Charlton Heston and all that. I remember because I saw it. That was Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston is a heathen. He's a white man, but he was Moses. Elizabeth Taylor, she was Cleopatra, even in Egypt, a white woman. You look at today. You look at the last samurai. And who was the last samurai? That was what's that guy's name? There's another actor that played Top Gun. Who's the actor that Tom Cruise? Okay, he's playing the last samurai. Is he Japanese? No. Who dances with wolves? Is he Native Indian? No. They put themselves up as the Most High's people, as the judges. Therefore they're lying. Just like I said before, the white man is a devil. He's a liar. He lies at everything. All of his lies are now being revealed in the earth. Now this here is a picture of, and from the Roman catacombs. Look how black they are. This is actually a picture depicting Nineveh, when who was that? Jonah was being thrown off the boat because he refused to prophesy the word of God and tried to get in the boat and get away. But the Most High sent a storm, and that storm was a bad tempest. And those who were on board said, the Most High is against us. Man, who on this boat? Who on this boat is a man of God? And they found Jonah, and they tried to throw, they didn't try. They threw him overboard. But in the catacombs of Rome, these are black men, a black prophet by the name of Jonah. Do the full research on what's going on. Find out what's going on, because, you could be deceived. Chances are 9 out of 10 you're being deceived if you're not Isupk. Okay, so we have there's not no more on that? Okay, so that's in the Maccabees. So now we're going to go to Job 30:30. This is in the book of Job. Job chapter 30 and verse 30.
Job chapter 30 and verse 30. My skin is black upon me.
My what?
My skin is black upon me.
My skin is black upon me. Well, why would he say my skin is black upon me? Might have been had to be of color. Did he say my skin is pale upon me? Is my skin pale upon me? Wow, no. My skin is black upon me. This is Joe speaking. Okay. Now let's drop that. Let's go to Acts 13 and 1. Acts 13 and 1. And while we're going there, here's another picture from the catacombs. And you can see here, this is Christ and the disciples actually raising Lazarus from the dead. This is in the book of Luke or the book of Matthew? One of the two. Either the book of Luke or in the book of Matthew, where Lazarus was actually raised from the dead. This is Christ. Well, Christ has an afro. There go Christ with an afro again. Right there. That's Christ, Yahweh Shai, with an afro, raising Lazarus from the dead. Okay? So, and the question is, how did the Hebrews become white? That's the question, within this topic. That the Jews are actually black, because the topic is the Jews are black. Okay? You got that up?
It's like Acts 13 and 1.
Acts 13 and 1.
Acts chapter 13 and verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger.
They were called what?
That was called Niger.
Okay, Niger. Niger is real close to the word nigger. And these were who that they were calling Niger? Who were they calling Niger? Who were they calling what the white man calls nigger? Who? Read that from the top.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger.
They were called who?
Was called Niger.
They were called Niger in the Bible. Niger, when you look at the southern drawl and the low education of the white man, he's going to put another G on there, and also to deceive you and call you a nigger. But they were called Niger in the Bible. And Niger is a Greek word which means black. Look it up. It means black. So there is the word nigger in the Bible. And they were the disciples of Christ. So don't be so offended next time somebody calls you a nigger, because you're a black man. You are from the tribe of Judah. You are from the tribe that Christ came from. You are from the tribe that King David came from. You are the tribe that Solomon came from. That's who you are if you're a so-called Negro in the world. The real Jews are black. Okay? Now I'm gonna go to this Moses and the Hebrews actually crossing the Red Sea. This is Moses and the Hebrews crossing the Red Sea. See, and they're pointing back there, but they're getting ready to cross the Red Sea when they came out of the captivity in Egypt. You know how the story went when they were underneath the captivity of the Pharaoh, and how they were treating the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, these men are black, and I'm sure you saw that afro. Look real close. You can see that these are black men. Okay. And also, and another part of this is Moses by the burning bush. He has a beard and he is black. Right here. He has a beard and an afro. Okay? Let's go to let's do the Song of Solomon chapter 1 and verse 5. The Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. Notice Solomon, and as I said, Solomon was the tribe of Judah. Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. You know, it's high time that we figure these things out. Let's do the research. Let's get the truth. Don't you want the truth for a change? You know, you got it?
Come on.
Go ahead and read.
Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. I am black.
I am what?
I am black.
I am what?
I am black.
Read.
But comely.
But who?
But comely.
So this is Solomon stating that he is black. He's already saying, he's telling it to you. What more proof you need? He's actually telling you now. He is black, but comely. Comely means beautiful. Black, but beautiful. I'm black, but I'm beautiful. That's what Solomon said. Read.
O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
Daughters of who?
Jerusalem.
Solomon was of the tribe of Judah, but he was speaking to the daughters of Jerusalem. Read.
As the tents of Kedar.
Black as the tents of Kedar. There must have been some black tents. There must have been some black tents right there. Because Solomon said he is black but comely. Black and beautiful. That's right. You know, you need not be ashamed. Don't bleach your skin. Don't bleach your skin, man. That's unnatural. That's so unnatural. Disgusting. The Most High looks at that as disgust. You know, you're not looking at your true self. You're not willing to face reality. You know, you're so beaten down in America that you think that being light and white is what's up. You know, that's the Most High gonna love you because you white and you light. Well, you may die with them. You may die with the heathen. You may get killed by the Most High with the heathen because of your actions. Read.
As the curtains of Solomon.
As the curtains of who?
Of Solomon.
As the curtains of Solomon. So he's black as his own curtains. Right. It sounds like he's as black as his own curtains. Black as this UPK sign back here. Black as my shirt. Dark. Okay, you have any more on that?
Right. Verse 6. Look not upon me because I am black.
Look not upon who?
Look not upon me because I am black.
Look not upon me because I am black. So Solomon is saying, don't look at me because I'm black. I'm black and beautiful. Make sure you know that part, you know. So it's important that you understand this and see it as it is. Read it as it is. Okay. Any more on that?
Yeah, just to finish it off.
Finish it off.
Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me.
The sun has looked upon who?
Upon me.
Okay, the sun has looked upon who?
Upon me.
So Solomon is saying, don't look upon me because I'm black, because the sun done looked upon me, the sun done burnt me. Right. So how in the hell can you say that you a Jew, that you white as the letters on the top of this thing, or red really as the letters, because you're really red, and as the letters up here, that you go out in the sun, you're gonna get melanoma, with that skin cancer. You're gonna get red as a beet. Your skin is gonna peel, you know, during that time, and in that land of ancient Palestine, in Jerusalem, in Israel, there's sun out there 24/7. There only were black people with melanin out there. Those are the indigenous people. That's where you come from if you're a so-called Negro, if you're a so-called Hispanic, if you're a so-called Native Indian. That's where you come from, ancient Palestine, Jerusalem, Israel, okay? Now, here's another depiction. Here's a depiction of, oh, wait, Salaki, you have anything to say, priest?
Oh, no, I'm good right now.
Okay. So here we go. Ayandaba. Here's a picture that maybe some of you might have seen before. This here is the Black Madonna. This is the Black Madonna and child, you know. this is what they worship. The Pope worships this, the Black Madonna. Okay, this is also, let's see where this is from. The Black Madonna of Einstein's. This is in Switzerland. Switzerland, where's Switzerland?
Europe.
What kind of people live in Switzerland?
Right.
What race of people live in Switzerland? The damn show ain't black. It ain't T-Bone from the hood. It ain't Chewy from the barrio. And the damn show ain't Lone Wolf from the damn reservation. These are white people worshiping a Black Madonna. This is in Switzerland. This picture was taken in Switzerland. Well, let's go and look at this one. The next one is very interesting, you know, really interesting here. Look at this. Here's the Pope. These are the popes right here. But right here is another Black Madonna. This is the portrait of the Black Madonna right here. Or this is the actual Black Madonna as well. Okay, and I'm gonna read the caption for you. It says, all knowledgeable blacks must have mused at one time or another. Example, church leaders must surely know that the Hebrews were black people. Thus, Jesus was black. Now, this is the caption to this picture. So how can they, in good conscience, how can they allow them to be depicted as whites? In their own mind of mind and heart of hearts and soul of soul. How can they say, well, they ain't got no soul in them? But mind of mind say that Christ was white, that Madonna was white. Okay? Or that the Hebrews are white. So how can they, in good conscience, allow them to be depicted as whites? The reason for that are, of course, complicated and racist. Complicated and racist. But here's how the popes deal with it in private. See, this is a private picture. This is how they deal with it. In privacy, they go and pray to the Black Madonna thinking they're going to get some brownie points up in the Most High in heaven somewhere. I'm going to get a brownie point because I'm praying to the Black Madonna. Wow, look at me. Look at me. You know, I'm being holy. I'm being righteous. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. German Pope Benedict, I guess that's 16 in Italian, by the way of Argentina, Pope Francis I prayed to the Black Madonna in a Vatican chapel. This is what's going on right here. That's what's going on right here. They're praying in a Vatican chapel. These two popes right here. These two disgusting child molesters. But that's what they do. Right. You know, they molest children. They like little boys. You know, don't leave your kids around them. And don't believe what they got to say because the Most High is not with them. Understand it? They're not with them. The Most High is not with them. All right? Let's see what else I got here.
So like, if I could, while you get that, you know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
And you know, the reason why the brother's bringing this out because it's super heavy. You know what I'm saying? The color of Christ is super heavy. It's like what's called subliminal. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's subtle. You know what I'm saying? The white man is such a goddamn devil that he makes you believe that Jesus is white, and you know what I'm saying? You have no hope in a white Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You have no hope in you know what I'm saying? In somebody that, you know, if you believe that white Jesus, the image of white Jesus is supposed to be your savior, then you might as well be in the same situation you are now. You know what I'm saying? But when you find out that Christ was black, you know, and he comes from the slums, he comes from the ghetto just like you do, then you know what I'm saying? That brings up hope right there. You know what I'm saying? That makes it a little bit more believable of why we need to follow these law, statutes, and commandments, and why we should not trust in our enemy. The Bible says never trust your enemy. You know what I'm saying? And if we trust our enemy, if you believe that Christ is white, that means you trust your enemy, man. You might as well be dead. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna teach your kids that to trust your enemy, you know what I'm saying? You're not ready for war, and every day is war. You know what I'm saying? Once you realize that Christ is black and he comes from the same place you do, he was facing the same struggles you were facing. Then you know what I'm saying. Then you have something in common with him. Then you can relate to him. You know what I'm saying? The white man posts that image of a white Jesus that white Jesus, you know what I'm saying, never been through the struggles you've been through, has no idea what you're going through. You know what I'm saying? And if you believe that's your savior, then like I said, you ain't gonna get, you know what I'm saying, you ain't gonna get far.
See, that's heavy. What you saying? You can't. You're not going to get far if you're thinking that he's white, because you're always going to be in a subservient role, and you're always going to be believing a deceiver, a liar,
Right.
actually a devil. You're going to believe him. That's what it means. I say it again. Devil means deceiver. It means a liar. The white man's lied. What truth did he bring to the earth? What peace did he bring to the earth? Did he bring any peace to the earth? His hands is covered with blood. No,
Right.
his hands is covered with much blood.
Right. Just like the scripture said, you know, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who's the wicked? You know what I'm saying? Who has the earth in his hand? You know what I'm saying? The white man does. America is this day and age superpower, right? And just like the scripture said, if not, then who is he? You know what I'm saying? If the white man is not the wicked, then who's the wicked then?
That's right. Who is the wicked? Let's go to John 1 and verse 46. John 1 and verse 46. That's what we're going to go to. You know, who is the wicked? You know, how many lynchings happened in America? You know, I'm going to go into maybe a couple more lynchings and find out the evil of the character and behavior of the white man. What has he done? What type of peace did he bring? You got that out?
Right, yeah.
Go ahead and read.
John chapter 1 and verse 46. And Nathanael said unto him, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth?
Can there any what?
Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth?
Now, Nazareth is a city. Nazareth is where Christ was born. Christ was born in Nazareth. Can any good, and this is what he's saying, can any good come out of Nazareth? And it's just like me saying, can any good come out of Watts? Can any good come out of Compton?
Right.
Can any good come out of Brooklyn, come out of Baltimore, come out of Washington, D.C., come out of Chicago? Can any good come out of St. Louis,
Right.
Detroit,
Right.
Philly, you know, Jersey? Can any good come out of these ghettos? That's what it's saying. Christ was born in the ancient ghetto. There was no good coming out of there.
Right.
You understand? That's why when Christ came to the earth, he came to his people. He came to the people that were in those ghettos. He didn't go to the Sadducees and Pharisees, the politicians of those times, the church leaders of those times, the Sadducees and Pharisees. He came to the publicans, to the harlots, to the murderers, to the
Right.
thieves, you know, to the downcast, the outcasts of the city, the outcasts of society. That's who Christ went to. He went to raise his people up. He went to raise up the people who were oppressed. Understand? Just like Moses, when he found out he was a Hebrew, he stood with the Hebrew Israelites and he fought oppression up from under the Pharaoh, and he got his people and freed his people from the Pharaoh and got them out of Egypt. You understand? Of course, with the will of the Most High and the help of the Most High and his angels. You know, so Christ is from Nazareth, the hood. If you get to the modern terms, the hood. Okay. Now here's another picture of Jeremiah actually reading a scroll. Here's Jeremiah reading a scroll. Look at the woolly hair. Look at the low-cut beard. He's reading the scroll in this picture from the ancient catacombs of Rome. And when you read the Bible, you know that Christ went up against the Romans. The Hebrew Israelites were in captivity in Rome. That's where I believe he was killed in Rome, right? From a Roman
Right.
centurion. You know, they hung him up on the cross, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's like if I could real quick,
Go ahead, Bree.
wanted to bring up a scripture, you know what I'm saying, to touch up on the what we were talking about right now on how he was born in the hood, just like any of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? How he wanted to. This scripture right here is saying how he wanted to be made just like us. He wanted to go through the same struggle just like we're going through. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's Hebrews 2:17.
Go ahead, read it.
And it reads Hebrews 2 and chapter 2 and verse 17. Wherefore in all things it behoved him it behoved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to the Most High.
See right there, showing it behooves him, right?
Right, behooves him.
It behooved him, you know, that he be merciful. Well, God's greatest characteristics is mercy, man. Mercy. Unlike you Christians, talk about all this love, this homosexual love. A homosexual love everything and everybody. Everybody. How can you choose a people and then you love everybody? How can you choose a people and put them first, but you want to put everybody else first too? Does that mean that means you didn't put those people first? That means you didn't love those people. That means you didn't show mercy to them people. The Most High shows mercy, in other words. You know, so Christ showed mercy, right?
Right.
He said he wanted to be born there. He wanted to be there because he wanted to give mercy to those mourning Jews, those Jews that were in mourning. Now, the Jews you see today, they own the film industry, the doctors, the lawyers, the property, the streets, everything, right? Are you in mourning when you own all of that? Would you be in mourning when you own all of that? Think about that, man. You own everything. Matter of fact, you made the slave ships. You made those slave ships in the transatlantic slave trade. How can you be one of the children of Israel? How can you be a Hebrew Israelite? You didn't go through nothing. You didn't go through mourning, you know. You know, you can put the 4 years, 4 years for the Holocaust or 3 years? 3 or 4 years of the so-called Holocaust. The real Holocaust was the transatlantic slave trade. That was the Holocaust. That was that was the Holocaust of the people. That was a destruction of 5 million slaves coming through Africa. I did want to touch on the fact that we're not Africans, and we need to separate from knowing that. You know, many of you out there thinking that we're African people. We're not African people. You know, I don't know nobody in my ancestry said that they have plate lips or anything like that, or were piercing their skin, you know, every 5 seconds, or eating cow doo-doo, or putting their face up in a cow. And these are the customs that Africans do. That's what they do. Okay, you know, in the book From Babylon to Timbuktu, it states that in 70 AD, the last destruction of Jerusalem was under King Titus and King Vespasian of Rome. They destroyed Jerusalem for the very last time. And what happened there in 65 AD was that when they destroyed it, the Jews that were in Jerusalem fled. They fled from that oppression. They fled from all of that killing and murdering of the white man. But that was the white man. That was a Roman. Those were Roman people that went into Jerusalem and destroyed it. And when they destroyed it, they fled into Africa, and particularly West Africa. Particularly West Africa is where they fled into. This is in Babylon and Timbuktu. I believe it's page 84, and that's by Rudolph Windsor. Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor, page 84. Excuse me, Salaki, 84, page 84. So they fled into West Africa, and when they fled into West Africa, that's when the trade, the slave trade actually plume. It actually reached the apex, which means it reached the peak. They were trading slaves like 90 going on all the time, everywhere, because there were many coming from ancient Palestine, our forefathers, so-called Negroes. That's what happened during the transatlantic slave trade. And you can look on the ancient maps, and the ancient map of West Africa in particular says the land of Judah, and it also says Negro land. You know, and that's the evidence that we were not the indigenous people there, but we were just fleeing from Jerusalem to West Africa, and then got caught up in the slave trade by the Africans as well. Those stinking Africans, yeah, them stinking Africans sold us into slavery. That's why you hear that we sold ourselves into slavery. That's why you hear that, because we already were in West Africa, and the indigenous people took us to those lands, sold us to the white man, to the Arabs, you know, to the fake Jews, you know, to the Portuguese also. And we got sold, and that's how we got to America, into the southern states, like in down south in Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and all those places where slaves were on plantations. See, that's how it started from 65 AD, when King Titus and his son Vespasian sacked Jerusalem for the last time. The slave trade picked up because they fled into ancient Africa, West Africa. And there's a book called The Negro Question Part 2, I believe, and it goes into detail. I just Googled it on Google and found the map. But this book goes in also, the second book goes into detail on Negro land, on the land of Judah, on the maps that shows where we actually went to, fled to during those times. Yeah, do your research. Like I said, do your research, man.
So like I'm about to get that.
All right, come. Okay, now here's another appearance of the so-called Christ right here. Still looking black with an afro. You know, they began tweaking these pictures and making them white. They changed from black to white. So there's the Messiah, right? There's Christ right there, and his disciples. You know, they're still looking somewhat black, but at this time they started changing the images. And as we went through in Scripture, we said, "Who covereth the faces of the judges?"
So like you said, page 84.
Page 84. You got it? Okay, we can go ahead and we can read.
What part of it? The beginning of page 84?
I believe it's in the middle paragraph. Should be in the middle paragraph.
In the year 65 BC.
It should be AD.
Okay, the Jewish philosopher Philo, about 40 BC to 40 AD, who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, said that 1 million Jews resided in Libya and Egypt from the Catabathmus to the borders of Ethiopia. Professor A.H. Godby says that Philo leaves us doubtful about which boundaries of Ethiopia he meant. I think that Philo meant the western and southern boundaries of Ethiopia, because the prophet Zephaniah mentioned from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, the daughters of my dispersed. There was a period over 600 years between Zephaniah and Philo, and considering the new waves of immigrants coming into Africa, they had 600 years to penetrate toward all the borders of Ethiopia.
Okay, so Salaki, now which book is this? This is the Negro Question Part 2?
No, this is Babylon to Timbuktu.
Babylon Timbuktu, that's page 84?
Right.
That is 84? So it's probably in the second paragraph. But it also, you know, as you bring out, they did flee into Africa. Now you got Egypt, and you mentioned Libya, you know, these areas they went into, but they mainly went into West Africa. Let me see where we're at.
That's
Let's see where we're
page
at.
84 right there.
Yeah, right here. In the year 65 AD. In the middle right
Okay,
there.
gotcha.
In the year
Oh,
65 AD.
65 BC. It's BC.
It says BC?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, but then it gets to the AD part.
It'll get to the AD, right. Go ahead.
This is Babylon from Timbuktu, page 84. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem.
So they captured Jerusalem during that time in 65 AD. I mean,
BC.
65 BC. Go ahead, read.
In 70
70 AD.
General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state.
So they put an end to the Jewish state. This king and his son put an end to the Jewish state in 70 AD. Go ahead.
With great slaughter.
With great what?
With great slaughter.
With great what?
Slaughter.
So that means he's a murderer. He's a murderer. He murdered the Jewish state, the people in the Jewish state, with great slaughter when he ended it. See, there's a lot of blood on the white man's hands. A lot of blood on his hands. From Esau, his father, down to the generations that they came down. To the Edomites, that's who their tribe is, the Edomites. They come, Esau is Edom. We may bring that out. Go ahead.
During the period of the military governors of Palestine.
In Palestine, okay, the military governors, read.
Many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people.
So that's the nature of the white man as well. Many outrages and atrocities were committed. So, you know, he actually put a lot of things out there, done a lot of evil, a lot of underhanded things. You know, you can imagine the imagination of a wicked man. You'll see a picture of a white man. Read.
During the period from Pompey to Julius, it had been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa.
How many?
1 million. Again. Over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery.
They were fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. Read.
The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
The slave markets were what?
Were full of black Jewish slaves.
The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. As I stated earlier, you know, that happened during the sacking of Jerusalem when it was destroyed by the king Vespasian and his son Titus in that time. This book is From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor. Read. Any more on that?
Oh, that's
Okay, so there's the proof. The Jews are black. You know, there's the proof. This author Rudolph Windsor has a PhD in Hebraic studies in Hebrew. There's more on it.
yeah. I could go.
Go ahead, read.
This prophecy and all the residue of the prophecies contained in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through 68, befell the black Jews after they disobeyed the laws of God.
They did what?
Disobeyed the laws of God.
How they followed the laws of God. They did what?
Disobeyed the laws of God.
And that's like many blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians now celebrating Easter, eating pork, going to church on Sundays, celebrating Mother's Day, celebrating Christmas, celebrating St. Patrick's Day. All of these heathen holidays you celebrating, but not once did you look to celebrate the holy days of the Bible, like Passover, like the Feast of Purim, like the Feast of First Fruits, like the Feast of Tabernacles, you know, like keeping the Sabbath on Saturdays, you know. None of that have you even considered to do, but you'll buy all those presents on Valentine's Day. You'll buy that chocolate and stuff on Valentine's Day, which is another sin, another abominable holiday that the Most High does not recognize, that has nothing to do with the Most High. Is any more on that,
Allah, I think that's it.
Okay, so this is why the Hebrew Israelites in that day were destroyed, were sacked. That's why they sacked Jerusalem in the first place. In the first place, Salaki, because the Most High allowed it. He allowed that destruction. Anything that happens on the earth, it's not by Mother Nature. It's by the Most High, the Father of creation. The Most High allowed it. If anything, death, those school shootings, hurricanes, earthquakes, would they have volcanoes erupting?
Right.
Because they have volcanoes erupting right now. Some people are being killed behind it too. Well, the Most High allowed that to happen. That's why it happened. Anything that happens on the earth, the Most High said that's what it's going to be, and He caused it to happen. Okay. Okay. Now, what do we have here? This is another article that I had here. It's Ancient Man and His First Civilizations. How did Jesus and the Hebrews become white? It's the same. Well, it's the same article. I have another picture, Salaki. So you can look at this picture, and you can see that the Hebrews, which are actually, I believe, right. Let's see, right here. I get my hands right here. Yeah, right here underneath my hand. Right here. Right here. The Hebrews have an afro. And you can see in this portrait how this is woolly hair. This is not your stringy white hair. This is woolly hair right there. Okay? Now, on this one, you'll see that you'll see what the Hebrew says. This is let us go back and see what the Hebrews really look like. The earliest authentic pictures of real Hebrews that have date back before Christ, they are Assyrian reliefs showing Hebrews and others that they conquered. So this is the Assyrians showing the Hebrews and other tribes or races of people that they actually conquered. Okay. In pictorial scenes detailing battles fought and associated texts, these reliefs decorated Assyrian palaces and no doubt used to gloat over their conquest of Palisa III reliefs conquest of his conquest. No, the conquest, Salaki, of the Hebrews. So they used to gloat over we conquered those Hebrews, so they put them in pictures. They put them in these what he said, authentic pictures, right? These genuine, which means genuine, authentic pictures showing the Hebrews being that they actually conquered. But right here, it looks like this man got cornrows in his head, or basically just an afro, and of course a beard. There's no way that this could be a white man. No way. So I'm gonna put this back up here again one more time so that you can see. To the best of my ability, Salakia on that. But right here in this picture, okay, right there, right here is the Hebrew. This is the Hebrew, right? I keep going the other way with it. But this is the Hebrew right here. Okay. Now, let's look at some brothers today who actually have short hair and afros. Well, what do you see here? Kind of similar to that picture, huh? Kind of similar to that picture. And if it's not a fro, it's a cornrow, believe me. And look at the short beards. They're wearing these today. Brothers are wearing these today. Okay? Now also, there's some pictures, or this is actually a statue of a pope. This is the Pope St. Benedict of Palermo, California. Wow. Palermo, California. Well, let's look at this pope. What does he look like? What does this pope look like? You can see that's a black man right there, no doubt. That's T-Bone from Fifth Street, right? Man, that's my boy Short Dog from over there in Compton, right? Yeah. So, you know, this is the Pope Saint Benedict of Palermo, California. You know, black man. You know, but when you hear the word Pope, you thinking some old homosexual weak white man somewhere, you know. Some pedophile that's trying to grab up your kids and go out there to one of those South American countries and get some little boys and have him a little party, a little drunken party, you know, 'cause that's what they do. You know, there's no godliness, there's no righteousness, there's no truth in that whatsoever. The actual Jews did make the slave ships. I see somebody on here said the slave ships are, well, we knew mulatto slaves actually, mulatto Jews actually financed them, but the real Jews, the white Jews did that as well. The white Jews own those slave ships. They own those ships. Do some more research. Now, here's a picture of, what's this? This is Saint Clement, who said to have known Saint Peter, Saint Luke Barnabas, and even Saint Paul personally, okay? And he even traveled with them on several occasions, okay? After Saint Peter and his first two successors, Linnaeus and Cletus, were martyred, he was appointed Bishop of Rome and the third successor of Saint Peter, the fourth Pope. See what it looked like. Well, there you go with his fro. There he is with his afro. All right. And his dark skin. All right. There's another one. You know, it's like we always want to defend. We want to defend the white man. We want to love him to death. We want to give him credit for everything. Well, the Most High is coming back to slay him. And though hand joined in hand, the wicked will not go unpunished. Okay. So now, what we got here? What else? Let me see. Let's get to let's look and see who Esau is. Esau is Edom. We want to find out if Esau is Edom. Who's Edom?
Let's go to Psalms 83.
Oh yeah, let's go to Psalms 83.
So we can show him,
we can go to that one. Yeah, we can go to that one, priest. Psalms 83.
How all the nations came up against us.
Let's find that one out. You know, while we talking about it, assuming, let's get some real research, because you know when you assume something, you're definitely making a jerk out yourself and anybody around you. There's no assumptions in the ISUPK. We don't assume nothing. You know.
Right.
You got it up?
Come.
Read.
Psalms chapter 83 and verse and verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Okay.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Mm-hmm.
They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
Mm-hmm. Let's cut them off from being a nation. They put themselves together with crafty counsel. These are many nations coming up against the children of Israel.
Right.
You know, read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So they don't want it. They don't even want us to be a nation.
Right.
They said that the name of Israel will be what?
No more in remembrance.
No more in remembrance. So Israel will be no more. There won't be no nation called Israel. Let's get together. Let's just get together and cut them off. Let's cut them off. Well, how many times you been cut off in the ghetto? How many times you been cut off from getting that good job? How many times have you been cut off from seeing your kids when you need to see them.
Right.
You know, how many times you've been actually railroaded into going by what the white man wants you to go by, and his philosophies and all of the things that he preaches, that he believes is true. Because he sure don't want you to know that blacks ruled Europe. He don't want you to know that, but yet they did. Our ancestors did. Got more on that?
Right. For they have consulted together with one consent.
They've all gotten together in one consent. So that's with one agreement. They all joined together against Israel. And what did they do?
They are confederate against thee.
They are what?
Confederate against thee.
They are confederate against thee. They joined together in a confederacy to be against you. Read.
The tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of who?
Edom.
Who is Edom? Who is Edom? Read.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites, those are your Arabs. So you first said the tabernacles of Edom, that's your white man. Ishmael is your Arabs. Read.
Of Moab.
Moab, the Chinese man. Read.
And the Hagarenes.
Hagarenes, I believe those are the Assyrians, like the Assyrian people, the Palestinian people. Read.
Gebal.
Gebal, same folks.
And Ammon.
And Ammon, the Japanese man. Read.
And Amalek.
And Amalek, there's your fake Jews that did own those slave ships. That's your fake Jews, the Amalekites. Read.
The Philistines.
The Philistines, those stinking Africans who actually did sell you and capture you and sell you, black man. Read.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
With the inhabitants of Tyre. Read.
Assur.
Asher.
It's like Assur also is joined with them.
Asher is joined with them. Read.
They have holpen the children of Lot.
So therefore, all these different nations have actually had a hand in our downfall, nations. And if you look into the history, all of Israel was surrounded by heathen nations in ancient times anyway. They were surrounded by these nations to join with. They didn't want to follow the Most High. They wanted to join these other nations. And all these other nations took a crafty counsel to cut them off from being a nation. And that's the same thing you see today. Black man, where's your culture? So-called Negro, where do you come from originally? Do you know? Any more on that up?
No.
All right. So these are the things, these are the reasons why the true Jews are black. The true children of Judah are the real Jews are black. Hispanics, Native Indians are included. They're Jews as well. We all are from the same tribes. There's those same 12 tribes of Israel. And it's more important now that you learn this now before it becomes too late.
Right. Don't reject this knowledge.
This knowledge here is not going to be long. After a while, we won't be out here prophesying.
Right.
You know, after a while, the prophets are not going to prophesy anymore. You know. Now here's another picture of a Madonna. Now this almost looked like wow. This almost looked like Aunt Jemima now, do she? She lost some weight, but the black Madonna. Look at that. Black, for sure. Okay, what does this caption read? Our Lady of Agony in the chapel of the 15th century, Wow, that's a long time ago, huh?
Right.
Fort Chateau of Agony in France. Another European. We went from Switzerland to France, right? Rome, all of this in Europe. The white man's domain. You know, let's look up the origin, find the origin of Esau. Let's find his origin. Shoot, let's bring him out. You know, let's make sure we know who Esau is, because we did say that they taking crafty counsel, the tabernacles of Edom. The tabernacles of Edom. We need to know who Edom is. Who is Edom? Let's get, let's find out who the tribes and the real tribes in the Bible are. Who are the tribes in the Bible? You know, Pastor won't tell you. He's not breaking down no tribes in the Bible. But he gonna break down those offering plates. He gonna break all that down, and he gonna count it all up. Then he gonna put it in his pocket and drive down the street, and get in his jet, and leave you in the ghetto, starving, poor, can't pay your bills, hungry, disconcerted, in anguish. But you wanna make sure that you help that pastor, because you think that that's how you're gonna get to heaven. When heaven is gonna be on earth, but you think it's going to be up in the clouds somewhere. That's not true. It's going to be right here on earth. Get close to it. Who is Edom? I'm going to Obadiah. Get the fate of these people. But we still want to stay on topic with the Jews are black. But I'm just bringing out how these black Jews destroyed by the nations around them, which one of the nations were the nations where the Caucasian, the so-called white man, comes from, that caveman, where he comes from. You got
go to Genesis.
Genesis. Let's go to Genesis. That's where I wanted to go. Genesis, the book of Genesis. What is it? We got Genesis 49. No, not Genesis 49. That's where Jacob is. If you really want to find this real quick, all you do is just find out where Esau is Edom. Esau is Edom. No. White folks, they sure don't want you to know. They don't want to claim no parts of being part of Edomite. They do not want to claim no parts of being that. Let's get Genesis 36 and 8. You can probably even go to 36 and 1. Look, Genesis 36 and 1. You got it out?
36 and 1?
Yeah, Genesis 36 and 1.
So Esau, who is Edom?
Esau, who is Edom. Read.
Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. Salakia.
She was a Hittite.
The Hittite, and Aholiab, Bama.
Okay, and who was she?
The daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, the Hivite.
So he took these two wives, these African wives, and what happened? And
Bashemath and Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth, and Adah, Eliphaz, and Bashemath.
Okay, so he went to these other heathen nations. See, he didn't take wives of his kinsmen. He didn't take wives of his nation. He went to another nation. Esau was wicked. He went to another nation and had kids, and those were his, and made descendants out of them. They weren't Israelites. Where does it say that they're dukes? You see dukes down there as you read on? Read to his descendants. See, Esau had descendants, and his descendants were called dukes. Well, in the earth, who calls himself a duke? Who calls himself a duke? Well, if you look in the British monarchy or whatever hierarchy, you'll find dukes. You'll find dukes in Scotland, in Ireland. You'll find them in Wales, and all these European nations, these Caucasian European nations, they call themselves dukes. Do you see where it says dukes in here?
It's verse 15.
Read just one or two.
These were the dukes of the sons of Esau.
These were who?
The dukes of the sons of Esau.
Tell them where you're reading from.
Genesis 36 and verse 15.
Genesis 36 and verse 15. Read.
These were the dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho.
Salaki. So Teman, when you look up Teman, if you look up Teman, you'll find that this is a descendant, a tribe that is of European descent. That's another thing that you can do your research on while you're researching. You know, Teman is the ancient name for a tribe that comes from Esau, which is a Caucasian tribe. Okay, Teman. You can look that up as well. Okay, is there any more on that?
Law, it just says a bunch of their names.
Okay, so it goes down through the lineage of all the dukes. The white man calls him a duke. John Wayne was the duke. They called him the duke, right?
Right.
John Wayne made all of those old westerns. He called himself the Duke. Look at the Dukes of Hazzard.
Right.
On TV, there's the old
Confederate flag
thing. They had the Confederate. They even had the Confederate flag, huh?
Right.
Good observation, priest. They had the Confederate flag. They were the Dukes of Hazzard. You know. So we have these descendants of Esau. Esau is Edom, and Edom actually means red. And when you're looking into, let's find Rachel's.
When he came out?
When he came out.
Got it right here.
You got it? Read.
Genesis 25, chapter 25 and 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
So Jacob and Esau actually were twins. Read.
Verse 25. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
They called his name what?
Esau.
See, and read was taken, they took great lengths to describe Esau. They described Esau to the T. He was a hairy man. He was red all over like a hairy garment. And Jacob was what they said about Jacob?
That he took, so like him. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was threescore years old when she bare them.
Okay, so when she bare them, Isaac was 80 years old, but there was no description of Jacob except for the fact that he was holding on to Esau's heel, because they were struggling in the womb. Meaning they were struggling or striving in the womb. When you say strive in the Bible, that means they were fighting within her womb at the very time that they were inside their wombs. Okay, that were red as a hairy all over. Okay, who he descended from. This pedophile right here, this homosexual looking smooth weak man right there. That's not Christ. That is not Yahweh Shai. The real Jews are black. You understand that? Okay.
So keep going.
What else is on that, priest?
And the boys grew.
Go ahead.
Characteristics.
Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 25 and verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter.
Esau was what?
A cunning hunter.
Esau was a cunning hunter. Now ask yourself again, who in the world hunts all the time? Who hunts all the time? Who's a cunning hunter? Well, you know, they have a lot of game hunters. You know, a lot of white men love to get out there and kill game, buffaloes, elks, deers, elephants, lions. As a matter of fact, they had an article that came out in the news not too long ago about a white man that was a game hunter. He hunted everything. He was an expert pro hunter. And he hunted, you remember that story? He hunted a lion, okay? Now these lions were actually held, they were caught at first and held in a cage. And every now and again they would let these lions through when you were hunting, and then you could hunt those lions that they caught. So it's kind of artificial, right? Because the white man, the devil, he want to kill every damn thing. So this game hunter that was good at hunting everything ran out there with his rifle, you know, he probably had some damn chew tobacco in his mouth and everything, with his old safari hat on, went out there and shot the daggone lion, blam, killed the lion. So he's like, oh yeah, I feel real good about he was feeling real good about himself. You know, he was all puffed up and happy. You know, I can imagine the smile on his face and all that, the description, you know, all that pride that the white man got. He go ahead and standing over the line with one foot, you know, taking pictures or whatever it was. But then again, I don't even think he might have took the pictures, because just as that lion died, another lion that was probably in the wilderness looking at the whole thing jumped up and killed him, swiped him and killed him, just as he hunted that first lion.
We need to get footage of that right there.
Yeah, we need to get the, maybe we'll get the footage on that next week. That'd be something. That's our project. That'll be our homework for next week. We'll go and get we'll get the actual facts of what took place. So he got killed and slaughtered by a second lion. That was the Most High. The Most High did that. You know, you hunting his animals for game and for pleasure and for your own pride, your own ego, your own lustful, inordinate lusts that you have on this earth. You know, the white man's a virus, man. He's a virus of the earth. That's the truth.
Right.
Nowhere has this man gone where there's been peace. There's been no peace where he's gone. You know, when he goes and starts a war, you know, the people he put on the front line didn't have nothing to do with the reason why he even went to war in the first place. In Vietnam, don't believe me, look at Vietnam. The blacks that went into Vietnam actually went in there to kill some people that they never had a problem with. Muhammad Ali even said that. Go to an ancient land in Asia and fight these people I don't have no problem with. He said, my enemy's right here in front of the press. When he was talking to the press, he was like, here's my enemy, you, and you, white folks. That's why he refused he dodged the draft. He refused to get drafted into the United States Army, because he knew who his enemy was. Just like we in the ISUPK, we know who our enemy is, and that's the white man, the goddamn white man, woman and child. You know, they caused this destruction on this earth. They caused the transatlantic slave trade. They broke the treaties with the Native Indians. They broke everything that they actually, you know, set up and was supposedly to support or help out. They got their love from us and they killed us. You know, and then they lied to us and said that the Jews were actually white. It was some guy named Slemitzberger, Finkelstein, and Goldman, and all. They're the Jews. Well, they're not the Jews. They couldn't, in a way, they could have lived in ancient Palestine. They would have all caught skin cancer and died. You know, they would have all caught skin cancer. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get that article where somebody came on and actually said that. One of the fake Jews actually said that. He said, "How can I be from ancient Palestine?" He told on himself. How can I be from ancient Palestine? He said, "It's hot as hell out here. We have to keep using sunscreen." They using sunscreen out there. I can imagine the sunscreen market out there is, woo, they making money. They making a lot of cake out there, but with sunscreen. You know, I got to put it on my grill because I'm gonna burn in this sun.
Right. You
know, I'm gonna burn in this sun. Okay. The fresco, I have another picture of this is dating from 235 AD, a painting found in 1921 on the left side of a wall of a baptismal chamber of the house church of the Dura Europos of the Euphrates River in modern Syria. This is in modern Syria. Here's a picture. And it's now part of the Dura Europos collection in Yale University. Yeah, it's always back to Yale, huh? Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I want to mention this before I look at this, you know, there's books called the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. The Zondervan Bible Dictionary, the compact Bible dictionary, as well as the large one, on the page 213 in the Zondervan, it states the definition of Ham. Noah had three sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Now, this is why blacks are not Africans. See, because the Zondervan Bible Dictionary is used by Yale students, Harvard students, in these renowned universities. This book, they use the Zondervan Bible Dictionary to study. Well, on page 213, it says the definition of Ham. He was the progenitor of the dark races, one of the 8 people to go into the ark of Noah's ark. Ham, the progenitor, which means father of the dark races. So it went in plural. But the next 3 words will trip you out if you buy the book and read it. It says, not the Negroes. And I quote, not the Negroes, but the Ethiopians, the Libyans, the Egyptians, and the Canaanites, which means the rest of the African tribes. So this Ham was the father of the African tribes. You got it out?
Yeah.
Go ahead and read.
Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races.
The progenitor of who?
The dark races.
The dark races. Read.
Not the Negroes.
Not the who?
Not the Negroes.
You mean to tell me I'm from the hood and I can't be, the son of Ham? Who?
Not the Negroes.
Read.
But the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
Now, brother man, where did you get an inkling that you are an Egyptian, or maybe if you're in Kemet, or an Ethiopian, or a Libyan, or a Canaanite? The land of Canaan were African people, the Perizzites and the Hivites and all of that, They were African people. Ham is the father of the African race. Libya is where Muammar Gaddafi is from. He was at one time the king or president of Libya. They were African people. That's who Ham is. That's who Ham's descendants are. It says not the Negroes in a Harvard study book, study dictionary. Like we said here, like I said earlier, do your research. Understand where these origins come from. Where did these words come from? What's the definition? What do the scriptures have to tell you? What do they reveal? And you learn it from here in the Isupk. Is there any more on that?
Live.
I didn't think so. All right. Now we're gonna move on and look at this. This was the image that I was reading from earlier. Another dark image. Okay, and this is from the fresco of the Good Shepherd, was found on the ceiling vault of Lucina in the catacomb of Calixtus in Rome. The construction of the vault itself has been dated the second half of the 2nd century, but the use of red and green lines to divide the space, similar to the chambers of San Sebastiano, has suggested the first half of the middle of the 3rd century for this fresco. The image of Jesus as the Good Shepherd was an especially popular motif in the early Christian centuries. It's based on several biblical passages, including the 23rd Psalm and sayings of Jesus, and is also an adaptation of a popular pagan image. The Good Shepherd, a black man, okay? Okay, now we look down here at this image. I mean, I got a wealth of pictures here that go on to give you the right descriptions. Now, I believe this is Christ with his disciples. Notice how dark they are. Look at the wide Negro noses. Look at the afros, the woolly hair. Christ in the middle. This is from the catacombs of Rome. Okay. What does it have to say? says back here, let me see. The archaeologists in Spain have found one of the world's earliest known picture images of Jesus. The figure is engraved on a glass plate dating back to the 4th century AD, according to Spaniards' report. He's flanked by two figures, believed to be the apostles Peter and Paul. Unlike later depictions, Jesus has no beard, with short curly hair afro. What? With a short curly haired afro. That's not with the disciples, but that was this one. Salaki, excuse me. That was this picture I just read about. He had a short curly afro, as you can see as it gets closer to the screen. All right. So these pictures are from the 4th century. Okay, 4th century AD, according to the Spanish reports. So he's flanked by Paul and Peter and Paul. All right. It's another image of Christ. Yahweh in the Hebrew. I don't know about this one because I can't see. Oh, wait a minute. I can see it, but I'm not sure if you guys can see this one. This fresco of the Good Shepherd was found on the ceiling vault in Lucina, in the catacomb of Calixtus in Rome. The construction vault itself had been dated to the second half of the 2nd century, but the use of red and green divide the space in the chambers under San Sebastian. I just read that. It suggested the first half. The image of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, was especially popular. The motif, okay, it's the same thing, but this is a different picture. Okay. Can you see the Negro features there? There you go. There you have it. It's more Negro features right here. So-called Negro features. So as the times went on, these pictures started to change, but you can still see dark images in these pictures. These are some other pictures. This one was in is fresco in David Gareja in the monastery. The fresco in David Gareja Monastery. That's this one here. Wow, look at that one. Look, he look like he got a fro right there for real. So, what do he use? Afro perm? I don't know. Use some Afro perm on that one. All right, so there it is now. You know, for all these things in America, you know, you need to know. Let's touch on, let's touch on Deuteronomy 28. Let's read Deuteronomy 28, verse 48 to 50. Deuteronomy 28, verse 48 to 50. We're going to go there. We'll go back to the Bible to see who were the children of Israel. What did they go through? What did they go through?
Deuteronomy 28 and 48.
28 and 48, yeah.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
The Most High sent enemies to the children of Israel. But let's go to the part where the beginning of the curses. That should be what, 15? Let's go to 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Hearken means to listen. It'll come to pass that if you shall not hearken to the voice of the Most High. Read.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
If you won't follow the law, statutes, and commandments that he commanded this day. Read.
That all these curses shall come upon thee.
All these blessings.
All these curses shall come upon thee.
God loves everybody.
All these curses shall come upon thee.
Curses shall come upon you, Israel. Read.
And overtake thee.
These are the Israelites of those ancient times, what they did originally, which is the reason why we're in this condition today. Read. These are about curses.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city.
Cursed shall you be in the city.
And cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Are you cursed in the barrio? Are you cursed on the reservations? Are you cursed in the ghetto? Read.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land.
Okay, the fruit of the land, but they couldn't gain the land. They never owned that land. It was agreement that they could own it if they could.
28, chapter 28, verse 64.
Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth, even unto the other.
So they were scattered from one end of the earth to another. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Okay, we read that. So for those who didn't hear, the gods that we served when we didn't know, our forefathers didn't know these people, and these people came and got us and made us serve these other gods. Gods of wood are the gods of Christianity, of that wooden cross that your mama has on her neck, that she has up in her wall, that your dope dealers, even the dope dealers wear the cross, the iced up cross on their neck. You know, the dope dealers wear that gold cross. They even wear that the little praying hand and all that. They go as far as wearing the crucifix. I mean the fake Christ, his head with the crown of thorns and all that. You know, that wooden cross is a God that the Most High is that is not the Most High. And what else? Of stone, right?
Right.
Stone is that Islam, that Islam, where you think you're an Arab man, and where you go to Mecca and you kiss that Kaab stone, which is actually a piece of stone, a meteor, a dumb stone. We need to get that scripture. What's the scripture with the dumb stone on it? That's not the Most High. That's another God that you serve and that your enemy introduced you to. And now you claim it as your own. You're a Christian, or you're a Muslim, or you Arabic, you know, when actually you're a Hebrew Israelite. You know, the Arabs don't accept you like that. Let's get verse 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now, this is the very scripture I'm going to end with. The Most High said he's going to bring you into Egypt again. Now, I'm going to break that down. What does Egypt mean? Verse 68 says, he will bring you into Egypt again. Now, weren't the children of Israel in Egypt under the Pharaoh with Moses, who bring them out of Egypt back way in the book of Exodus? Yes, in the book of Exodus, that's where it started. But this, in the book of Deuteronomy, says that he will bring you into Egypt again. The word Egypt is Egyptos in Greek, which is Mitzrayim, which his original name is Mitzrayim, not Egypt, but Mitzrayim. Egyptos means bondage. Bondage is slavery. Most High said he's going to bring you into slavery again. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
Now, when he said, by the way that I spake unto thee, that's your homeland, ancient Palestine, Israel, where you come from, black man. You know, this is where you originated from, in Jerusalem, in Israel. But by the way of thou shalt see it no more. That's why you don't know your heritage. You don't know where you come from. You know? So, read.
Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
You shall be what?
Sold unto your enemies.
You shall be what?
Sold unto your enemies.
Sold unto your enemies. By way of that he spoke, you won't see your land no more, and you will be sold to your enemies. Who did that happen to? Read.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
Bondman and bondwoman. What's the definition of a bondman? A bondman is a slave. A bondwoman is a slave, a female slave. Read.
And no man shall buy you.
No man will save you from this slavery. No man will buy you out of slavery. This is in the book of Deuteronomy. This is what the Most High said when the Most High actually sent the curses to the children of Israel. He sent curses, and these curses were resulted in slavery. They resulted in the slavery of the transatlantic slave trade. In the book of Deuteronomy shows the identity of the children of Israel, what it was to become of them. They would be sold into slavery again on ships. You know, we did read that part where it said ships. Now, you can't take a ship from Jerusalem to Egypt. You can't take a ship there. It would be kind of dumb because you can walk there. You can walk from Jerusalem to Egypt. But he said ships. This is where the Bible explains the black man came to America on slave ships. That's how he got here. And on them slave ships, he suffered some very horrific treatment and catastrophes and tragedies, you know, that led some of them to jump overboard, that they were fed to the sharks. And the sharks have a natural, to this day, those sharks have a natural feeding line where they go to feed, and that line goes straight from West Africa through the Atlantic Ocean to the southern states, because the sharks knew that there would be food there, and it was actually ingrained in them that they swim those same paths that the slave ships went on, because there will be a lot of food in that water. That food were blacks, women and child, black man, the black woman, and the child thrown overboard, or those who jumped overboard because they didn't want to go through slavery. They knew that this slavery was going to be terrible, that it was going to be tragedy, that it was going to be, you know, just wicked and evil. So this is what happened. You was to be sold as bondsmen and bondswomen. You know, when you get a chance, read the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. Read the blessings also, but read the curses. And when you read them curses, ask yourself if that description doesn't fit slavery, the transatlantic slavery to be particular. And with that, I'm going to end this class. Shalom.
This one.